Welcome back. Episode 8 of the Josh Kane Presidential Fireside Chat. We're on to the late, great Martin Van Buren, first elected in 1836. His wife had died long before 1807, so she's not even in the picture. No states added. He's the only president that English was a second language. He actually spoke Dutch, and from upper Hudson River Valley, Kinderhook, New York. It was just an enclave of Dutch settlers, and they never really left their area, and they all spoke Dutch. So he almost like a migrant experience, right? Or immigrant experience. He came to America from the Hudson River Valley. A little bit like me coming from Nantucket, coming to Worcester. I was like a fish out of water. I was so unprepared for life in America. Luckily, I spoke the language, but half the time I didn't understand anything you guys were saying. So I survived. He ran against 3 regional Whig candidates. So at that point, the Whig Party was sort of fractured. It was just developing across the country, and he was able to take advantage of it. He ran against he ran with Dick Johnson, who was that was his vice president. But he was living, for this time period, like a taboo life. He was basically living a married life with one of his slaves, family, the whole works. It was like the worst kept secret in Washington. So by the time 1840 rolls around, when Van Buren runs for re-election, he runs alone. He didn't have a vice president. He bounced Johnson off his ticket and just ran by himself. So that would have been interesting if he had won. No vice president on his ticket. But Van Buren, one of the main people of the Whig Party was William Henry Harrison, that he ran against in 1836. Van Buren is the founder of the Democratic Party, so it's weird that we don't know, like, he's one of our lesser known presidents, but he did a lot. He basically had his hand in every presidential election from 1820 to 1856, whether he was running or pulling the strings behind the scenes. He was all over the place. He's probably, when you think about the history of the presidents, probably one of the most politically savvy, other than the LBJ, Martin Van Buren. It was almost like he was like, ever seen that show on Netflix, House of Cards? It's almost like the show is based on his life, because he goes from New York Attorney General, Senator, Secretary of State under Jackson, and then he goes and wins the governor of New York, and then all of a sudden he's the vice president under Andrew Jackson, never having served as governor of New York, and then all of a sudden he's president. So when you read it, you're like, whoa, this guy how did he even do that? But he was definitely politically savvy. Unfortunately for him, he was left holding the bag for Andrew Jackson's disastrous presidency. The Panic of 1837 basically wipes out the country and his prospects of winning in 1840. And he's also, while Andrew Jackson's famous for the Trail of Tears, he actually is the one that implemented it and forced all the people off the land. So he's the one that actually carried forward on the Trail of Tears. So again, it's funny because now we're in the point where we're on the road to the Civil War. So between Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln, all these guys are sort of nameless, faceless characters. So some of the books are not very good, but to me it was a fascinating time because how they got the nominations, the acrobatics that they had to do to just win a nomination, and you couldn't be too pro-slavery but not too anti-slavery. You balancing the ticket. And then every little law that was passed was, you were so freaked out about the South. You didn't want to be the president when the country goes to civil war. So all these guys coming forward are pretty terrible. I liked Martin Van Buren, don't get me wrong. He was put in an impossible position by Andrew Jackson with the giant failure of the banking system, and the founding fathers who put us on a road to civil war. Book recommendations. So this one's not great. So this is from the American President series. So every president's got one of these, no matter what they all have, they're all like under 200 pages. They're kind of like high school aged, which you'd think would be perfect for my 12-year-old maturity, but it does leave you wanting more. It's very light. I think I read this in an afternoon on the beach, so it's nothing to write home about. And going forward, we're going to have a handful of these because there's not a lot of great biographies on a big bunch of these presidents coming up. And I have a very funny story in a future episode where because I had read a bunch of these at this point in a future episode. I probably read 8 or 9 of these, and I was so frustrated. And I made a big scene. And Nantucket's own and the pride of Frederick, Maryland, Brandon Fleming, he was there to witness it. And I went on and on about these types of books. And we'll leave it at that for now. But it'll be funny. So yeah, not a great selection for Martin Van Buren. Travel recommendations. His farm up in the Hudson River Valley. Beautiful. You can tour his home, tour the whole farm. The kids, I took the kids. We did a big day trip. We went and visited 3 presidents. That was the middle president that we visited. 2 others will be for future episodes. They became junior rangers while we were there, so that was fun. And then he's buried in this like super rural cemetery that was on both sides of the road, and it took forever to find his grave. I mean, literally, we were just like walking around a tiny little cemetery, and it's a crappy old memorial. So it was difficult to find, but it's worth, if you're ever in the area, if you're, going to the other presidents FDR. So if you're near the FDR library, it's about an hour north, totally worth going to Martin Van Buren. All right, that's the end of the episode. Bye for now.